Welcome back to Night Shift with Justin S. King. How to transform your life one night at a time. Tonight, I want to share a simple model for breakthrough and how to change not only your emotions, but also your actions. I may have covered part of this today, but today I'm sharing some notes from day 3 of an emotional breakthrough challenge. First off, I want to talk about a cycle that happens when we experience any kind of circumstance or stimulus. First, a perceived or real threat occurs. For example, someone says something, you see something, and then second, your nervous system reacts. So between the threat and the reaction, there is a space. Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In that space is where breakthrough happens. And while the challenge today says we have a moment to decide in that space, decision is often a default decision, as we've discussed in previous episodes when I mentioned Tyler Watson's alignment technique. But if we have got to the point where we can make a choice with our reactions, we freed ourselves from default reactions, then we either move to freedom or we move back into default. Default is when you let the old pattern runs you. Freedom is where you interrupt the pattern. You breathe, you pause, you use essential oil or a tool you've learned to change your response. You've used the ask yourself a better question. And one thing that you can do as part of this is to use Brooke Castillo's The Model. The Model is a simple life self-coaching method that takes you through different feedback to change your actions. So the first part of the model is your circumstances, where you have a neutral fact. It's something that happened that everybody can agree happened. After that circumstance, you move into thoughts. That is when your mind creates thoughts about the circumstances. After the circumstance, you move into feeling, and that feeling then drives action, which may be inaction. And then that action creates a result. So the work you do in using The Model is not always changing the circumstance, but the work is changing the thought. So there's 2 ways to use the model. One, you can use it to evaluate where you are now, work backwards from the actions you are taking, feeling, and to the thought, and then the circumstance. The circumstance is the same in each case. But once you identified your default pattern, you can then identify either the action you want to take, what you would need to believe or feel in order to take that action, and what thought you would need to have in order to take that action. And then you can also employ Byron Katie's tool, which she calls the turnaround, where you take a thought that is dragging you down and ask, is it true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? How do I react when I believe that thought? And who would I be without that thought? You then turn it around and ask yourself, if the thought is, what would it be if it wasn't? Do the opposite of it. For example, I can't change. You can say, maybe I can change. I'm stuck. You can try, maybe I'm learning how to move. You don't necessarily need to force yourself into believing something that is fake, but you can try on a different thought. A helpful tool that employs both of the model and the turnaround is called the stack. I've mentioned this on a previous episode, and is a tool that we use inside of one of the coaching methods I'm certified in Wake Up Warrior. And it takes you through circumstances and through this process on your own. But tonight, all you have to do is go through either the model or the turnaround and change an action you want to take in order to get a different result. The biggest breakthrough could happen tonight is by identifying one thought you happen to have over and over again that you are treating like truth, and ask, is this thought true if it's not giving me the results that I want? You may want to go back and review this episode for those questions, but I'll drop them into the notes for this episode of both the model and the turnaround. That is it for tonight's episode of Night Shift. My name is Justin S. King, and I help entrepreneurs find peace tonight, tomorrow, and for the rest of their lives through sleep optimization, emotion regulation, and discovering their purpose. Good night.